Literally 35% of the transactions that happen in our business are linked to an email that we sent out. And when it comes to social media, only 1% of our sales is linked from a direct jump from, oh, they saw a social media post where we're talking about something new that we offered, and then come to our website and made a purchase. Only 1% of the transactions. So 35 versus 1%, I think it's pretty clear that email by far is the top converting tool and most effective tool to use.
You're listening to GrazeCast, a show that shares the secrets to selling perishable food products online. The show and advice is brought to you by the team at Seven Sons, which is an 8-figure e-commerce business that started completely from scratch. Each episode, we bring you one topic, 3 strategies, and one tangible resource to continue your learning and put you on the fast track in your own e-commerce journey. Let's begin. All right, hello, and welcome to episode 2 of GrazeCast. My name is Brooks Hitzfield with Seven Sons and GrazeCart, and as always, I'm joined with my brother Blaine. Blaine, you want to say hi, address the audience, and introduce our topic we're going to discuss today?
Yes, hi, I'm Blaine, and we are talking about basically the top 3 emails that we send and that we highly recommend you sending. So if there's our top 3, we're going to discuss those. Brooks is going to come up with his top 3. I'm going to come up with my top 3. And last episode we talked about the top 3 retention strategies. I really like this top 3 theme. It makes it fun. But what you're going to find is that this literally segues right into the top 3 emails you should be sending. We're going to be referencing some of the things that we talked about in the last episode, just getting a little deeper, a little more tangible.
This is great. So if you made it through the first episode and you're joining us again, welcome back. But for those of you who maybe this is the first episode you're watching, and if you're not aware of who Seven Sons and GrazeCart is, the first episode we actually gave a pretty in-depth overview of what we do. So if you want to learn more about that and why you should even take the time to listen to what we had to say on this show and the advice that we share, go back and listen to that episode. But just for a quick, brief picture, Seven Sons is it's a family farming operation that started completely from scratch, and it has now scaled to a multi-7-figure e-commerce and direct marketing business. So it's a family business. There are actually 7 sons. We're all involved.
And now there's an incredible team here.
Yes, absolutely. So Blaine leads the team as our chief executive officer. I help out on their operations side, so helping everything that happens after that first sale is made and making sure that our product is delivered to our customers safe and sound, and that whole service aspect that follows it. So I would say that along with the team, but us as a family, we enjoy technology to make our lives easier and to help our business grow. So another aspect of what we do is GrazeCart. So that's a custom website and e-commerce shopping cart that we built for our own business about 6 years ago or so was the start of that. And now we have made it available to other food producers to help them sell online more effectively. So if you want to learn more about the platform, you can always watch a demo at grazecart.com. But as Blaine mentioned on this show, what we do is we show up with one topic to discuss. Both Blaine and I will share our top 3 pieces of advice, and then at the end we'll leave you with at least one recommended resource to continue your learning. So Blaine, to give a little bit more of a context into the topic, can you maybe answer the question, how would you prioritize the importance of email marketing versus all the other marketing strategies that are available that folks could pursue? Because there's so many different options. There's social media, email marketing, you hear about influencer marketing, so many different things that people could pursue. How would you prioritize the level of importance of email marketing?
It can be really overwhelming to think about where do I focus my time, especially when it comes to online marketing strategies. So just to give you context, we'll be transparent. Literally 35% of the transactions that happen in our business are linked to an email that we sent out. So 35% of our business and revenue is directly linked to email. And we can look at that through our Google Analytics. I just pulled it up as we were kind of preparing to get on here. And so I found that 35% is linked to email purchases.
That's all sales, you're saying?
All sales. Okay. Out of all sales, 35%. And when it comes to social media, only 1% of our sales is linked from a direct jump from, oh, they saw a social media post where we're talking about something new that we offered, and then come to our website and made a purchase. Only 1% of the transactions. So 35 versus 1%, I think it's pretty clear that, and this is across all e-commerce industry wide. Email by far is the top converting tool and most effective tool to use.
So if you were talking though to like, does this matter what stage of business you're in? So if you're talking to someone who's starting completely from scratch versus someone who's established, is there a point in time where email is more valuable, or would you say this is the strategy you should be pursuing first, no matter what stage that you're in?
Very, very early on. I mean, you have to start somewhere. You're going to start with an email list of 0 at some point. You do have to start somewhere. So that's a good point. Some things that we did to build our email list, Brooks, at farmers markets, the very first farmers markets we went to, we had an incentive and a reason for them to, we had a clipboard there and gave them a perk for signing up on our email list. So literally, as we're there physically, we're collecting email addresses. We did the same thing when we launched our on-farm store early on, that self-serve store. We had a clipboard, and we still, to this day, whatever, 15, 20 years later, we still have that same size clipboard sitting right there on the counter. Even though it's the store has really, and our email marketing has really transpired, we still collect those email addresses. So it's really something you should be starting and focusing on even from day one. So now back to my comment on social media. Doesn't mean we ignore social media. We invest in social media, and it's great. Just understand that it's further up the buying experience. So in social media, people are social. They want to learn what you're doing, see what's the latest news. They're not expecting to be pitched as much or to go directly from social media to order something. When they open their inbox, they're just in a different mindset. So
I think that's a great topic for an episode. Top three ways to grow your email list. So
there we go.
If you guys want to hear that episode, let us know in the comment section below. So, well, great. All right. So let's see how much overlap there is here with our top 3 emails that you should be sending if you're not. So I'll go ahead and start. And we actually we touched on this in the last episode. So you're coming over. We'll try to highlight it real quick for those of you who are new. But the number one email I think you should be sending if you're not is a follow-up email to customers that are no longer buying for you. So we call this our one question email. So what we do is we have our email marketing platform. It's tightly connected to our GrazeCart shopping cart. So we know where our customers are in their buying process. We know when was their last purchase, what did they buy from us. All that data connects to each other so we can get really tailored with our email follow-ups that we send to our customers. So one campaign that we have triggered to send is when someone hasn't purchased from us in the last 6 months, because we know that if they haven't bought in the last 6 months, then they're kind of at risk of being someone who's fallen off the wagon.
How do we know? How do we, on a consistent basis, keep track of who's purchased and who hasn't in the last 6 months?
Well, that's through the email connection with the shopping cart. So if they purchased there on our website, online, that's connected to our email platform, which we use Drip. So it has a tight integration with GrazeCart, so it knows exactly when was their last purchase. It's all built out through that integration. And Drip's a really unique tool to where you can not only have all that segmenting data where you can get really tailored with your email follow-up, but they have a lot of automation tools built in as well, because some of these things we're going to be talking about, you might be thinking in your head, well, that's not scalable. I'm not going to be able to,
I don't have time for that.
I can't do that every single
I'm a one-man show, or one-person show.
Exactly. So you want to use tools, especially as you grow, that will leverage your time. You can put it on autopilot, and then it just works. So back to if a customer has not purchased in the last 6 months, what we will do is we will automatically, this happens, we'll send them an email asking for just transparent feedback as to why they're no longer purchasing from us. So we don't send out like a survey. You see these all the time.
We talked about this last episode. Yeah, don't send out survey. Don't be informal.
It's very personal. It comes from one of us. In fact, I think it comes from email that's actually personally written from me, and we just transparently ask for them to reply to the email and in their own words, just tell us what is it that, what's the reason why they haven't purchased, and if there's anything that we could do different to improve the experience for the next customer that comes on. So if you don't know why your customers are leaving and are no longer buying from you, then you're not going to know how to continue to build loyalty into our business. So we went deeper in that on the last episode, but definitely I would put this at number 1, because you're going to get feedback that you will change fundamental ways about how you do business to make your service better and just be able to ultimately put your customers first.
Yeah, cool. All right, so that's number one for you. Is the one question. We call it the one question.
We call
email.
it one question email. So replies come in my inbox every single week. And
did you mention this literally in the email subject, which I think is awesome? We just say one question.
Yeah,
and it's just it
inspires people to open it. What's this question?
What's this one question?
Some curiosity in there. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So Brooks, my number one, and I kind of cheated. I went to our drip email software and I looked at the last 30 days and basically ranked all the emails we sent out, which one inspired the most revenue. And so
that is cheating for sure.
Number one is the cart abandonment workflow. So when someone gets online, they don't finish, they leave their cart open and don't confirm their order. There is a nice little email follow-up that sends to them. And the cool thing about GrazeCart is, in order you can set up GrazeCart for people to shop, they put in their email and zip code. And then a series of 10 things happen that tailors their buying experience, including more than 10 things, but including one of those small things is this abandoned cart workflow. So it sends an email directly to them. It's timely. And it just says, hey, we noticed you were shopping, didn't complete your purchase. Is there anything we can help you with? Any questions that you have?
That's really good. I didn't think of that email, but it's funny how some of the simplest things that you can do and set up and put in place can add sometimes the most value to your business.
So for us, in the last 30 days, I just looked here. So that email has gone out to over 2,000 people. And we haven't done anything, right? I mean, we haven't even been thinking about it, but this email is working for us. It went up to 2,000 people, a 47% open rate. So that's
and we're sending that from Drip, our email marketing software as well. So it's all automated. It's on autopilot. Someone doesn't complete their purchase, they're going to get that follow up. We have a resource actually. If you don't currently have something like that in place on, just a little bit more about what our email follow ups will say on that and how to actually implement that whole process. So very easy to do. And again, it's automated. You leverage your time along with it.
Cool. All right. So then, but I was gonna add here. So total, that email campaign that we don't even think about, it happens on its own, has in the last 30 days brought in $17,000 worth of sales just from having that set up. Obviously, that's going to be different with the number of visitors you have, but it's our most effective email at driving sales from brand new customers and repeat customers.
How much time do you think it would take someone to get that in place?
Oh, they could do it in less than in an afternoon. If you're starting from scratch, you need to set up. It depends on where you are. Do you have an email system already set up? Is it just a matter of integrating with GrazeCart? But no matter what, even if it took you an afternoon to get in place, well worth it because it's one and done. That's the kind of marketing you want to focus on. At a farmer's market, you have to keep showing up day after day, spending the time there. What we love about internet marketing and email marketing is that so much of it can be automated. Invest your time and you get such a residual
effect. It makes
effect.
life so much easier. So just finding ways, how can you leverage your time with technology? So nope, that's great. Number two on my end I had was, I kind of cheated on this one a little bit. So it's not a specific email, but it's an email series. So if you don't have an email onboarding series, then you need to have one of these in place.
We touched on that last episode.
Yep. So what I mean by this is going to be when someone first signs up on your email list, what happens? Do they sit there until you send your next newsletter, if you're sending a monthly newsletter? If so, when they first sign up and they learn about you, that's the height of their awareness about your business. That's when they're most interested in.
We call that the recency factor. Yeah. It's so powerful. When someone is interested right then, that's the best time.
So when you're using, again, tools that can help automate this process, you want to be sure that you have some emails that are set to trigger at a certain time frequency after they first sign up. So we call this an email onboarding series. Some people will call it an email nurture campaign or something like that. But think about then for those first initial emails they receive, think about what are the most important things you want them to know about your business.
Or maybe the top objections they might have from buying online or from a local farm. What are some of those objections that are just going to come up?
So we've had our email onboarding series in place for, the last two 2.5 years or so. So you tweak this over time, but again, it's one of those things that you do the work once, you set it up once, and then it's always working for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everyone a little bit more, because I know you've kind of been working on some updates to this, to our onboarding series. You want to tell just a quick, brief overview of what are those first couple emails that we send out?
Well, I mean, the first email they get is a welcome email. It has a picture of the family right there, and it just gives them, it's really personable, and it's an email from me, so it has my little picture of me by my signature card, and it feels personable, and that's something we always talk about. So when we're writing emails, we're not writing email blasts. We're writing individual notes to an individual customer. Remember, it's just one person at a time that's going to be on the other side of their computer screen or phone reading it. It needs to feel personal. So a really personal welcome message there. And it really depends upon where they are in the journey with us, Brooks, because if they signed up on the email list and purchased an order, made an order right there on the spot, we obviously are going to treat them a little bit different than if it's someone who just signed up on the email list and has not purchased. So that's something we've built in the logic into our email workflows, which anyone can do. You can do this. If they haven't purchased, then we're obviously at some point, we always start off by, again, what you said, nurturing, just showing them about the farm. The first thing that really happens, Brooks, is probably our online virtual farm tour. That is really our staple piece of content, because that's just one thing that we found out is one of the first things that customers, or when we've noticed that when someone comes to our farm and actually experiences the farm, the connection and the level of loyalty and trust that builds. And so, you
can't replace that experience of seeing,
Yes.
Seeing the actual difference of what you do.
And you can do your best though to recreate that online. So we've done that with a 3-day virtual farm tour. It covers the cattle, the pigs, and the chickens. It takes them through each one of the enterprises, explains what we do, and at the same time we're interviewing each other. So I'm interviewing the different brothers that are involved on the farm in different capacities. So the customer is building a connection with the people on the farm, the things that we do differently, really builds that trust. So that farm tour is really the first main piece of content or series of emails they get. And then we just nurture them along the way. If they still haven't purchased yet, we remind them that, hey, we have a best of farm box if you haven't tried. This comes after the farm tour, after we've built some trust.
Yep. So again, like as Glenn was saying, you can get as fancy with this as you want. We've been building this and improving and refining it for over time. We continue to readdress this, but bottom line, you can get started with something very simple. Have first, maybe it's even just 5 emails or so. That first, it builds that connection. You overcome some of their initial objections, and then maybe if they haven't bought from you, give them an incentive to make that first purchase. So again, very much something that you can do with a little bit of effort up front, but you leverage your time over time. Right now, as we're speaking, there's people going through our virtual farm tour. They're getting those emails. They're seeing the behind the scenes. We're on the podcast right now. That's just happening in the background.
Yep, high leverage. Yep. So Brooks, you don't have to have. We use Drip, which is very powerful and integrates well with GrazeCast. But literally, for what you're talking about, an onboarding series, you could use MailChimp or any of the free.
MailChimp. There's a lot of tools out there that now let you do this. Email marketing has really improved over time. But if you're listening to your GrazeCast client, Drip is the platform we recommend. It's definitely the most advanced from the automation and segmenting you can do. But MailChimp is still a good tool. You can do a lot of the same things that we're talking about. Maybe just not get as in depth to some of those checkpoints where we're looking at what who's a customer, who's not. But you can still have some basic automation tools to leverage your time to get started.
Yep, that's good point. So is it my turn for number
two? Because I went first. Right?
Number 2. Okay. Yep. So I said abandoned cart is number 1 as mine. Number 2 for me would be I think we call it the how was it email. So after their first purchase, we mentioned this in the last episode as well. So that's what we love about that email is that in that follow-up to their first purchase, we're obviously checking in and we're asking them, hey, did you have any questions? If so, hit reply. If you had any problems, we'd love to hear about it or address it. But I forget how it's worded. But ultimately what we're asking for there, if you had a great experience, we're going to be...
No, we don't even do that. What we do is we ask for their feedback transparently by leaving us a Google review.
Yeah, so it's really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And people, and again, making yourself vulnerable builds that trust and that relationship. And a lot of people are afraid to do this, to say, hey, what was your feedback? What was your experience? Go ahead and leave that experience on Google. That's putting yourself out there, but it's amazing because our customers feel that we care, and that they can trust us. So often, if someone had a poor experience for some reason, so often they just reply to the email and tell us about it. They don't go to Google and put a bad review out there.
Well, and two, when you get this in place, it does show the level. I mean, you need to have confidence in that ordering experience and the service that you provide to your customers. Ultimately,
it keeps you accountable.
Yeah, if you don't put your customers first, then you can't fake it. So, but having something like this in place, it tells your customers that you're doing something vulnerable, because most savvy shoppers know that we have no control over who leaves a Google review. We have no control if someone leaves a 5-star review. We can't remove that, and they know that. So it's a great way to build a lot of trust, though, in what we call social proof, because one of our top Google search terms when people are searching for Seven Sons is Seven Sons reviews. And that's going to be the same probably for most of you. People like to know that someone has experienced, this process before, and that it was a good experience before investing.
Nobody wants to be first.
No, absolutely. I want to know that this actually works. So it builds a lot of social proof. So that's a great email that we call it sends out on Friday.
It's set to send out on Friday.
We call it 5-star Friday because we get our Google reviews on Friday because of the day it's sent out. Great email. I didn't think of that one either. So.
And something we even build that into the team culture, and we've periodically we will read those reviews in team meetings. And we're actually going to start doing it with the fulfillment team. Just updating the team on, hey, last week or this month we've had this many 5-star reviews. Here's a few ones that really stuck out to us. We read to them because we want to remind our team that when it comes to building loyalty, we're only as good as the last order we sent out, or the last email exchange, or the last phone call interaction that we had.
And it shows everyone the impact that they're having in that experience with the customers. There might be someone who's packing orders for us every single week, and it could be easy to think that
mundane.
This is it's just the next job. But no, this actually reminds them that, hey, we all play into this. Sure, we can put these email workflows in place and ask for the feedback, but any step along the process where we make a mistake, that's the difference maybe between that 5-star review and something much more negative. So.
Yeah, and you have to think about it. I mean, a loyal customer, if they are spending $500 to $1,000 per year with you, and you have a 5-year relationship with them, it's valuable. So, that's my number 2, Brooks.
Like it. So number 3 I have is a reorder reminder email, or an order reminder email. So for most folks, if you're selling food products online, whether you're doing home deliveries or you're doing curbside pickups at local buying clubs or something like that, you probably have a delivery frequency and an order window where you let your customers place orders on your website, and then you have a cutoff date, so that way you have time to pack orders and get everything prepared for the delivery. And what we recommend for everybody is whenever you have that order deadline date, so that last day for your customers to place your orders, have an email set up to remind everyone to get their orders in on time. So this not only is going to help make your life a lot easier, because if you start selling online for very long, you'll realize that if you have this ordering window, you're going to have customers who forget to place orders in that window, and then you're going to have to be much more reactive to either make exceptions and things like that. So it makes your life a lot easier, reminding your customers to get their orders in. But this was actually probably, up until we had a cart abandonment workflows in place and things like this was probably our most valuable email campaign.
It generated the most revenue.
Yep,
exactly.
Just routinely reminding customers to place their orders according to their.
It's only like schedule. 1 or 2 lines of text, and it was one of our highest converting,
easiest email to set up. We've actually built this into GrazeCart, because if you're using GrazeCart, you're setting up your ordering schedule inside of there, so it knows where your cutoff dates are. So you can actually trigger a reminder email to send out to every customer who's related to that particular pickup location that you're delivering to send them a reminder just to those customers. So it's segmented. You're not, building email fatigue with your entire list. It goes just to those customers who have the order deadline on that date. A very simple email, and definitely something, one of the easiest things if you don't have in place to create an email campaign that's going to pay for itself very, very quickly.
For sure. So that's the deadline reminder email. That's what we call that.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Ready for my number 3?
Go
So
for it.
my number 3, this is just a high-level fundamental email that everyone needs to be doing, and that is just your periodic touch base newsletter. And we send ours out weekly, which is really the most you'll want to do that, because we send a weekly newsletter on Sundays. And we do it on Sundays because if you research it, Sunday is the busiest grocery shopping day of the week. So everyone's thinking groceries on that day.
Yep.
And it's also right before all of our deadlines. And typically, probably for most businesses and farms, you're going to have your deadlines on Monday through Tuesday or Wednesday maybe. So it's a good time. But that is important. It reminds your customers that you're consistent. You're keeping that email list warm, and it's just a great way to stay in touch with all your customers. It's a good discipline. Again, email is it really, for an online business, building an online business, it's your number one asset. So if weekly sounds intimidating, like too much work, monthly, at least doing monthly, but do it consistently on the same day, consistently on a periodic basis or
Consistency is
consistent
the
basis.
biggest key with a email newsletter. You need to let your customers get used to something, help them become familiar with what to expect from you. One of the easiest ways to keep it consistent is you need to assign someone on your team, whether it's you, especially if you're starting out by yourself, that owns the newsletter. So maybe they don't create the content for it every week, but they're the one who's in charge of making sure that we're lining up the content and that it's ready when we need it ready, so that way we can stay on top of it and keep it consistent.
And probably the biggest key here when it comes to a weekly, I know because it's a struggle for everyone. If you're weekly or monthly, the key to being consistent is to work ahead on your content. There's nothing worse than being under pressure. It's Saturday night. We need a Sunday email. What do I type? That is mistake number one, and it will sabotage your consistency.
Create a backlog, plan it out. We actually do that with the show here, the podcast. We're starting this out by batching them together because it's much easier to create content when you're focused all at once. And two, on the last episode, we were talking about the value of content marketing. So I think that drives home how important your newsletter is, because that's that touch point to where you're reminding your customers, why did they buy it from you? You're continuing to help build that relationship and build a connection.
Well, and if you
tell
look
your story.
And if you look at our Google Analytics, and anyone can connect their site to Google Analytics. And if you're using GrazeCast, it also connects for e-commerce data. And you can look on our Google Analytics, and you can look at the sales throughout the months, and literally it looks like a heartbeat monitor. As you look at 3 months worth of data, you'll see those consistent spikes up and down like a heartbeat, and those are the days that we send our Sunday newsletter.
And is the focus on the newsletter any sales or promotion related typically? Or?
Typically it is not. No, typically it's just connecting, sharing what's happening on the farm, something we've learned. And a great thing about disciplining yourself to create that monthly or weekly newsletter is it holds you accountable to creating some content about your farm, is sharing from your heart. But what you'll find is that there are certain emails that really connected with your customer base, and those become the emails that you then move to your new user or your new email onboarding campaigns. So it's not one and done. That's what's difficult about social media. You put the content out there on social media and it dies. It goes into the abyss.
Yep, you get a bunch of engagement, a lot of likes and comments, but then what? I mean, the most you can maybe keep that going is a day or two, and then it's done.
With email marketing, again, you can reuse that content to brand new people. And there's people that are probably going to sign up on our newsletter today, Brooks, and they're going to get an awesome piece of content that's still relevant to teaching them about our farm, but we might have wrote that in a newsletter 5 years ago, and it's still working for us. That is synergy. That's how you really build a marketing machine that's automated and working for you.
And you see, that's probably, if you're listening to this, that's a common theme that we keep talking about here. But I think it's really important because, especially if you're starting from scratch, you're trying to grow the business, the one thing that you run out of first is always going to be your time and your management capacity, not only from you, but from other key family members or team members who are involved. So we're always looking for ways for how can you leverage your time to impact your business and continue to grow. And that's one of the things that we love about email the most. Not only is it an amazing tool when it comes to online marketing, but it's a tool that you can leverage very, very easily.
And don't get hung up on the cost of this stuff. I know that drip. We talked about drip, and it's it's a little more expensive than the MailChimp, but I think you can get started with Drip Brooks for what, $50?
I think $19 now.
$19. Okay. And just think about it. If you sign up for Drip, start using it, put an abandoned cart workflow in place, all it takes is possibly one recovery of an open cart each month to pay for the cost of the service.
Yeah, and think about the cost of your time too to replicate what these tools are doing for you in an automated way. So
I think what do we spend on Drip? Just put it in perspective.
I think we're up to about $700 a month.
$700 per month, and we love the fact that we're spending $700 a month because it means there's a lot of email subscribers on there.
Yeah, it's the list is growing.
The higher our Drip invoice is every month, the more excited we get.
Pretty counterintuitive, but that's great. Well, do you have a resource or a recommendation, call to action for anyone who's listening to this where they can either continue their learning or a tool that you would push them to?
Yeah, well, I definitely would look in. If you don't have an email platform up and going, definitely check out Drip or MailChimp. Both of those integrate with GrazeCast. Correct, Brooks?
Pursue the tool, and then to continue your learning, I would recommend, because we're talking about this, kind of trying to describe how some of these emails look and how they work. Sign up to email lists for other operations that are out there. Again, always be thinking of that business that you aspire to be, who's 100 steps ahead of you. Sign up to their email list, see what are the emails that they're sending, what is how are they written, what does the messaging look like, because that's going to be your best way to pull out ideas for how to piece this all together yourself.
Paul Greaves.
Primal Pastures, that was one I had listed down here. They do a really, really good job. Especially what I like about what they do is their onboarding campaign is really, really good. So they do a really good job at not just sharing their story and what they do, but they do a really good job at contrasting what they do and what makes it different versus conventional poultry or products that they offer. They actually will show pictures of the chicken barn versus the hens out on pasture, and it just makes it very, very visible and real for the customer. So Primal Pastures, I think they're a great example. Of course, you guys are welcome to sign up on our list at Seven Sons. We've been trying to improve, our email marketing for quite a while, and this is obviously one of the main focuses that we do. We have a client, Raymer Family Farms. I joined their list just recently. I ended up on it, and they have done a really good job taking some of these strategies. I know they visited the farm, so they've seen some of ours as well. But they've done a really good job taking some of these strategies and putting them into place.
So how about we have Molly list those in the show notes?
We'll have show notes. How about that? Yeah. All right. So be sure to check those out. And as always, there's going to be a comment section somewhere. Let us know. Get in contact with us if you enjoyed this episode. Maybe what was your biggest aha moment or takeaway that you're going to implement, and share an idea for our next topic. We're always looking for ideas to talk about, and we always want to make sure that they're relevant to you guys and the problems that you're facing.
And think about it. The top 3 ways to overcome this, or top 3 strategies or tactics.
That's the format, so it makes it easy for us, and we want to keep it consistent. So
cool.
That's great. Okay, appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.